As long as it's one.
One of the questions. Okay, so then we'll call to order the regular meeting.
Pledge of allegiance again?
Do we do the pledge?
You can waive it.
We can waive the pledge? Okay. Roll call?
Would you like to waive that also?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Approval of minutes. Has everyone been able to go over the last October minutes?
Those were emailed out.
Say that again?
Said those were emailed out.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on the from the minutes? So I'd like to move to approve the minutes. If no further discussion.
I may just ask a question. It says that this body reviewed this document, the lake level control procedure. Is that where most of the changes came from, or that are before us today?
No, I'd say the bulk of the changes came from the Lake Association. They had a committee, and I don't remember the number of members, but a lawyer was involved, and they went through a lot of language. Almost all the changes came from them.
Okay. But the previous board did not make because there's no recommendation on there, just reviewed it, passed it on. And
Right, and I incorporated their recommendations and a couple from individual people here.
Okay, well, thank you. I just wanted to know.
So move to approve the minutes as presented.
Go ahead.
I move that we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second.
We don't vote.
Yeah, we do. All in favor?
Vote on that. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? So we have minutes. Approval of the agenda presented here. We do need to add an action item.
It's not really an action
Or
item.
is
I
it?
requested that item number 3 under action is more of an update on the repairs that have taken place, since last year.
And also, we do need to address the roof repair.
Well, I'll bring all that inside.
Okay. So, move to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion or?
Nope. I'd move we accept the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay,
With the addition.
with the
With
addition.
the addition
I added it.
requested by.
Okay. So the agenda is approved. I'll,
Aye.
Aye.
We all vote.
Yeah, we all vote. Public comment?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chris Grubb, South Lake Leelanau. I've been attending these meetings for the last couple of years now, mainly because of the high levels during the summer on South Lake, erosion of the shoreline. And I've been looking for something like this, the procedure, and I'm surprised that we've operated without it for so long. I want to mention that when this board voted to run the dam at the lower level of the port order. That was probably one of the best things that has happened to the lake level, South Lake, in a long time. In fact, the difference between the two lake levels last summer was about 2 inches difference. And I've never seen it that close before. It's always, 3, 4, 5 inches difference on a good run. So I want to thank the board for doing that. And I see in the document on the level control that's, if it's adopted, kind of keeps it at that level during the summer. So I've looked over this document several times online since the October meeting. I can't find any holes. It's a wonderful document. It now makes sense that it was prepared by the Leelanau Lake Association lawyers. But I had asked for this a couple meetings ago, and I want to move to fully support this document and pass it as written with no changes. So the only other thing, other than that's my comments at this point, I'm wondering who the new jury is. Do we have a name or a card or who that person is? The new jury, the maintenance.
I'll introduce it.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner comments? Oh, no, okay, I'm sorry. I went down, yeah. So now there's no more public comment. We're on to the action item. Well, the first item, Richard.
Okay. We've had a number of meetings, and I don't remember how many different versions of the lake level control procedure. I would say 5 or 6. I've incorporated all the recommendations that the Lake Association had. The first question I have, are there any more suggested changes from this group? No. If not, I would like to propose that we approve the procedure. Oh, sorry.
Did you have a couple of items, Steve?
We did a group meet yesterday.
Steve
Okay.
had some things.
You have that.
Okay, I don't think they're anything of substance. Let me introduce now everybody. Sir, this is Mr. Patrick Roach. And you can touch base with him right after the meeting. He is our facilities director. He's the new, old, whatever, Jerry.
Technically, Wayne's the new Jerry, and then he made my position.
Yeah, we made this position, but he's over. Dwayne is filling in the role that way Jerry was undertaking, so it's where we are. But responsibility stops with Patrick, so there you go. Or
Yeah.
with the county commission in the end, but his help.
And just to piggyback on some of that, these guys that are in my department, especially Wayne, he's got almost 10 years of experience doing this. I'm the new guy on the scene. He is the technical expert, and I'm kind of like the conductor. I'm trying to make the wings work with the grass and all that kind of stuff. But you may see me defer to his knowledge and expertise for some of these explanations.
Yeah, I'll give it Dwayne Plaska. The structure that's here now, this gentleman to my right is a true gem for the county. I'm not too sure how they landed him, but it was a great land. This structure is perfectly set up to facilitate and do the dam control and all of the things that need to happen with the dam. We met yesterday, I met with Pat and Dwayne and Kim, and we kibitzed a bit and talked about where do we go from here. I carved this up a touch, but it didn't change it in essence. Pat, I think, has a copy, and Tim has a copy. Just added a few little tiny things. And I guess I'll let Tim and Pat address that as I'm stepping away from involvement with the dam, but I'm really confident that this situation is in very good hands. Congrats to the county and Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Wayne.
A lot of the changes that I'm going to talk about, Steve brought to my attention, and they're small little things. There's a section here under level control. We talked about a significant precipitation event.
Okay, you want to go to what page you're on, sir?
Pages are not numbered,
Okay.
they're level control pages.
So after the cover sheet, down at D,
Down to D.
and the lake levels continue to rise. It is noted here that there are limitations how quickly levels can be adjusted after significant precipitation or snow melt events. And where was the section that said days versus hours was changing?
Yeah, the section is referencing anticipation from Dwayne and Pat, basically, and Tim. Here comes a big event, and at what point are you absolutely sure you're going to be hammered, and you start to let some water out or just before the water's coming in? And my comment there was, I don't think we should do that days ahead, but maybe hours ahead. When we're absolutely sure here it comes. Okay, let's start letting the water out so that we can counteract this deluge that's coming. Maybe we've got an 8-inch coming at us. Maybe we have a 10-inch coming at us. That type of thing. So that D is in reference to anticipation and starting to move and take water out of the system before we actually have the event. And so I just wanted to preach caution, I guess.
Yeah,
Let's not be too far ahead of ourselves.
exactly, yeah.
And the other issue is that is if we get too far ahead, then we're gonna drop the water level
Yeah.
below the court,
Right.
required low point, and that'll put us out of compliance.
Right,
Predicting weather a few days ahead, especially
Yeah.
if you're talking about a major impact, they're typically pretty localized, so
Well,
I think
yeah,
that's a good point, that it should at most be hours, not days.
yeah. And we're gonna be able to monitor. One thing that I saw yesterday was a great monitoring system that we have right here in our building with cameras. You know, Dwayne and Pat, you know, they got their eyes on that every day. You know, and we'll be able to catch it and adjust when we need to.
Is the intent to actually take the dam low enough that we do violate the court order?
Well, that's why I was preaching caution, because it's actually saying, it kind of relates to when you go to summer level and when you go to winter level. When you read the court order, it happens just like that. They do not, in the court order, say, this is what we are going to go to at this point in time, and it'll take hours, days, or a week and a half. The court order doesn't say that. The court order just says it's instant. So, taking that into account, this is like that. We have to operate the dam in a common sense mode. Going to winter, going to summer takes some time. If the conditions are right, we can start inching our way there, maybe a day or two or a week ahead of time, which we've done, and not feeling that we're out of compliance because the court order says we have to be here on this day. To be here on this day, we have to start moving here. And if the weather conditions don't allow us to do that, we start here and it might take 2 weeks to get there.
It's a little like driving a boat. Sometimes you have to get the bow to move, you got to oversteer a little bit and then center it back
So we
out.
get 10 inches coming at us, we know we're going to have the dam wide open for a week and a half or some crazy thing. So to start taking a little bit of water out, several hours ahead, is that out of compliance with the court order? Not in my estimation whatsoever. We have to use the dam to make it happen properly. That's my take. on
Yeah.
it.
So it's common sense.
You know,
Yeah.
But is
I
there any
don't
additional?
feel like we're violating the court order by implementing D so long as we are using common sense and caution.
Yeah.
Is there any other additional language that needs to be put in there, under D? That's all I would care about is,
I don't think so.
I don't think so, it's just an understanding that you think hours versus days. I don't think, is there any other language that should be in there?
And that language might have been in that earlier draft, remember we talked earlier that we see hours in that.
I think you could add a parentheses statement. If water is released ahead of the event, it will happen within hours before the event, not days.
After maybe immediate action, and then parentheses,
So, parentheses and just a phrase.
So like at the end of the,
just defines immediate action
Yeah.
as hours, not
I would say that you could put in parentheses what you just said, hours, not days. That just,
That would cover it.
Yeah.
that would cover it, in my
That's-
opinion, simply because it's a reminder of what we're trying to do. That's all you're trying to get to.
We don't want someone to read this 10 years from now and be a week ahead.
yeah,
I think if you add that in parentheses at the very last, it's kind of that clock, hours, not days. But, but that's where,
so we want to be sure though that, Allison, do you understand? But if,
I've got it in here.
I do, yes.
The dam may be lowered hours before
The event.
Well,
a predicted high water event.
Richard, I would just put in parentheses, hours, not days.
Yeah, I think that covers it.
I think that's what I'm trying to do is get this notion in here. You don't have to jump a month in advance.
All right.
Right.
okay.
Trying to keep it simple.
Mhm.
I might, sometimes I'm a little contrary. I might suggest, I don't know if you need hours or days, honestly. I mean, trying to predict. I just remember when we got 30 inches of snow on April, whatever it was. If should that be 18 hours, or if it's 25 hours, did you violate your own policy? I mean, I would leave that flexibility with our staff, with the idea that they know how quickly that dam comes up and down. I myself here, I don't know how quickly that dam goes down. I don't know if you lower it a little bit, 25 hours, if that makes a difference between lowering it a lot, 6 hours. I mean, it's not, anyway.
Getting back to the boat analogy, you just gotta drive the boat more.
Yeah, slower.
Jerry was the captain, and he'd been driving it for, 40 odd years. And so right now Dwayne's most qualified time on the helm, so to speak.
Sure.
And so that's the art to this that we're all kind of learning.
But I believe your paragraph states all that. You're leaving it to their judgment to do that, but all we're doing is put a little nugget in there, if I heard it correctly. Putting a nugget in there to say, think hours, not days.
Yeah, well, you're narrowing down the tools they have, as all.
No, we're not narrowing anything. We're just trying to say, just don't go crazy.
Yeah, I think the intent is not to allow the lake level to drop to below what the court has ordered.
Or not
A week
be so
before.
far below that it can't come back pretty quick.
Yeah, a week before a predicted rainfall, and then you don't get the rainfall and you can't get it back. So I think hours, not days is.
I'd like to hear from
reasonable.
Dwayne, how quickly, you can drop the gate very quickly.
You dropped the key. During the last event that we had, 2 years ago.
Dwayne, why don't you come up and pull up a chair because you're being recorded, sir.
So I think it was 3 years ago when we had the last event, when we had the 9 inches, we went down and lowered it, we dropped the gate. And it was, it went fairly quickly, but with all the runoff that you have from the river, the south end, the watershed, it does take a little bit longer to reach that level. And then that's when we go ahead and we pull boards on the spillway as well. So we can kind of get there a little faster. Does it happen within an hour? No. Does it, but in the when we have an event like that, it can take a few days.
Right.
I appreciate what you're saying though, because you don't want to limit our tools. I think that's
my
right
thought.
thinking, but I'm thinking 72 hours is still hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just gets us from doing it a week at a time.
yeah.
But
Well, then why have anything in there if 72 hours
what's a valid point?
is hours?
I mean, you,
I mean, does hours mean less than 24 hours, which is kind of how it was brought here, but that's not what the wording says.
And so long as the idea of the concept of you're not gonna be a week ahead.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be 5 days ahead, you're not gonna be 3 days ahead. You're not gonna be that far ahead with this action. That needs to be understood, and we all understand it here today.
Yeah.
In 10 years, whoever's looking at this might be excited about it, that, here comes a big event a week from now, we better do something. And that's not right. You can't do it a week ahead.
No, we would usually do it as the event occurs, like things change, snowfall change, rain changes. We're not just gonna all of a sudden go drop a dam because there's a rain, predicting a couple inches of rain, next week. So if it comes in at that day and we see that we're getting more rain than was anticipated, then yeah, we're gonna drop the dam and make sure that the south end and everybody else is safe.
Okay, I'm totally confident that we're in good hands here, okay? So the thing is, do we need to change the verbiage in any way?
That's the question.
That's the
Do we
question here.
need verbiage in here?
I'd add the parentheses myself, if it up to me. I'm kind of a tail on the dog here, but, that's why I earmarked it, and I said, well, we should put something in here. I would add something myself, that parentheses, hours, not days.
Share with us right now, what are you thinking, Steve?
Just like what Richard said.
Hours, not,
Not days. and
okay.
Well, and
Yeah, but is that-
nowadays,
is that,
Think caution.
that's sufficient? That's,
Can I try it again? The dam may be lowered hours in advance of a predicted high water event, in parentheses under D.
I
okay,
think that gives us enough latitude.
Okay.
okay.
And one other change, I'd like to change on the prior page under procedure G. I have facilities manager, it should be director.
Yes, that's the correct title, director.
Wait a minute there.
Okay.
We got,
We didn't double sign this. This is-
oh,
The property did come on. Yeah,
Okay.
oh,
we'll change the title.
okay.
Okay, all right.
Are there any other suggested changes?
I like your suggestions.
Hmm?
You had the scribbled notes that I did?
Patrick, you're next.
Level control operational checks, E. The concept of checking the sensor reading to the staff gauge on South Lake and Narrows can be done anytime without manipulating the dam. That's something you just walk out there and do. The reason to raise the dam and do the check at the dam to sensor the staff gauge is with a significant amount of flow happening, you can't get a good check. So, I'm just saying the check of gauge and sensor can happen often. And if you need a good solid check at the dam, you raise the dam up to get the check at the dam. So you don't need to raise the dam up to do the check at the Narrows and the south end. So, what you're doing and what Rick and John did all along was they wanted to raise the confidence of the reading of the sensor compared to a staff gauge. So we ended up installing, John and Rick installed a staff gauge at the south end sensor. We have a staff gauge at the narrow sensor and a staff gauge at the dam sensor. And periodically through the year, Rick and John would be checking to make sure that the confidence in the sensor reading was very high. That's a sensor reading that anybody on the lake, and actually anybody who has a computer can look at. And we've had comments about, the readings, and we had some sensors that were drifting on us, so that we put this in as a procedure so that the dam authority can be up on making sure those sensor readings are confident. And if not, if we have someone making a comment, we can say, well, we've got Cal Killen looking at this one because it's drifting on us. We have the staff gauge and we know what we are at with the staff gauge, and we're correcting the sensor reading. So the long and short of it is the sensor readings are for the staff to look at constantly and just kind of keep a read. The Lake Association looks at them constantly to get a read. There is a person at the Lake Association that is designated to be the contact with Dwayne and Pat. One person, not the whole Lake Association. So there is kind of a thing going on with, we're looking at it, we just want it to be a confidence thing. And my comment there was, you don't have to keep pulling that dam up to be checking the narrows and the south end. But anyway, that was just a comment. I don't think any verbiage needs to be added there. I'm kind of laughing at,
I want to let you ramble.
Okay.
I think, paragraph H, wasn't it,
Yeah. That's
in the historical?
historical information basis. Yeah, Tim, why don't you go ahead?
Let's see, that was, oh yeah, this is when we were discussing it, Steve, it was about the 200 year.
200 year rain.
Yeah, wasn't it? I'm sorry, what was it?
Yeah.
200 year rain event.
Yeah, the only reason we need two cylinders is if we have a 200-year flood event. Not any old flood event.
Yeah,
And when Thomas predicted that, I'm not too sure how the state of Michigan wanted him to run through that, and Garth, we may have a line of this, but he was predicting a 200-year event, and it must have been during a wet condition because that prediction had the water 12 inches above the dam. So I'm not sure,
H, do you have it?
how that came about,
It's
per
just,
se,
oh, okay, you got
but
it, yeah.
that's a lot of water. And yeah, you need both cylinders to pull up against that much water that's in that. It's hard to imagine that. We had a 100-year event, we weren't anywhere close to that. I don't know. Just saying.
So what,
But I mean, I'd add the 200-year event. I mean,
That's, yeah, we were just talking,
we don't want the general knowledge for the general public to think we need both cylinders for a plain old flood event. His comment was in reference to a 200-year flood.
and
I don't know how that, I mean,
Do you want to add 200-year event?
I would add
yeah,
during a 200-year flood event for sure.
we could just add that, yeah, like right after, say, to lift the gate during a 200-year event, is that inserted there?
To lift the gate during a 200-year flood event.
Flood event, yeah.
I would add that for clarity. The next item down, it falls right into Tim's lap. The accuracy, the comparison between a standard pull-around survey technique from the pin at the, down at the end of the pier versus a GPS, was at that point in time in 017, was 6/100 of a foot different.
3/4 of an inch, yeah.
Yeah, and the equipment that Tim operates today is much more accurate than they were in 017.
I just happen to be a land surveyor too,
Yeah.
So, and, you know, as time goes on, while Tim's involved, you've got a fantastic surveyor in-house. So, these things can be checked and looked at.
Yeah.
I would suggest by Tim or under his supervision at the very least.
One comment about the accuracy, Cal Killen has been in Florida for months, but he looks at the sensor readings on a regular basis. If there's anything that looks abnormal, I get a phone call.
Uh-huh.
And it's interesting, can you run up to the dam and disconnect the battery and reconnect it? So the good news, he is monitoring this stuff all the time.
That's great.
And his partner is no longer involved. He's doing it by himself. And we had to put a new battery in South Lake. I looked at it and it wasn't, the sensor wasn't consistent. I got a phone call. I happened to be out of town, but I got back in town. He said, go down and check the battery. It had a low voltage condition. Took the battery in for a check. It was garbage, so we bought a new battery and everything worked fine, came back online. We lost 3 days of data. So he's that involved on a day-to-day basis, not just for Lake Leelanau, he's working on other lakes as well.
Yeah, my comment in the meeting yesterday, having Cal Killen in his business, working with us is a real bargain.
It is.
Yeah, he upgrades the software each year, whatever's needed, and he's constantly tweaking it to make it better. And he does the hardware and manufactures it, in essence, himself, and upgrades that on a regular basis. And our cost for an entire year is $2,000, plus whatever hardware we would need to purchase. So, a heck of a bargain, high level of expertise, anyway. Then we get to end, the very end, the very last comment, the very last statement, the M. I'll just read it. The dam gauge should be in the full upright position for 45 minutes to let the river stabilize for an exact court order reading of lake water level at the dam. That statement is not in the court order. The court order does not have us do anything with the dam to get a reading. This statement was put in place because John really wanted it in there. And I think Rick and pretty much everybody says, okay, this kind of makes sense. And it only kind of makes sense during a time when it's very dry. I'm saying at least 4 weeks out from any kind of a significant event whatsoever. August would be perfect. The sponges are dry. You know, all of those wetlands that go from Cedar and curl all the way up to Lime Lake, all of those are kind of dry. The lakes are real stable. This is when the court order was put in place. Bringing the dam up at that point in time for 45 minutes, and Tim says under a high pressure system,
Yeah.
listen to your surveyor, and then do that look-see.
Yeah.
And see where you're at. It's a good thing to do. It's not in the court order. The court order does not say to do that. I just want to make that clear. And whatever we need to add on verbiage, To make that clear, this is not what the court order says to do. But anyway, it's a great idea, and John would
Well,
be happy. for
are
us
you
to do
saying
it.
it's an idea to do this in August of every year?
I would say during a very dry time.
And,
Well, then I would say during a very dry period,
At
the
least
dam
4
gate
weeks out.
should be a full operate to river, and I would take out the word court order. Just take it out. It's what we're gonna do.
Is that something?
The
we-
court order already has it, and we've got to maintain this level. You're just trying to make sure it's correct.
Now, the court order, when the court order went in place, the only place to measure was at the dam.
Yeah.
And we don't even have the markings
yeah,
that were referenced at that point in time. So that's all they could do. And so we're locked in to measuring at the dam. Luckily, we have the sensor and the staff gauge at the narrows. And that was Jerry's check over time. So you're measuring at the dam in your steady state and you're confident, you're in court order, and you go to the narrows and you check, where is the lake level? And that's your check. And that's what Jerry did over the years, and that's what this group's gonna have to do over the years too. But luckily, we've got sensors, we've got staff gauge, and John made sure that our staff gauge at the narrows got positioned properly. For whatever reason, over time, it had drifted down almost 2 inches. So that was removed and a new one placed at the proper level. So we're in good shape, and that,
Could you verbiage that as when our annual event, when we do the greasing of the seals, which we did in September, we could move it to August?
I would just say this is a recommended procedure for more accurate reading, not stipulated by the court order. Something like that.
But however, but it doesn't, I think just take the word court order out.
Okay,
Anyway, I'll let the engineer figure that out.
can I give it a try?
yeah.
I would agree that we just remove court order because we know that based on John's work, that it does take 45 minutes. We can do it at any time. You want generally low flow, otherwise you'll start increasing
Yeah.
the level.
Yeah.
But I think if we just straight court order, we're fine.
Okay,
Let me try one more.
okay.
During a dry spell, the dam gate shall be in the full upright position for 45 minutes and let the river flow stabilize for an exact reading of the lake water level at the dam.
Perfect.
Yeah,
One other comment. I need to give Dwayne credit for putting up with all the changes that John and I requested to bring the dam up, stabilize the river. It was an education, certainly for John and me. John and I didn't agree on how long it takes for the river to stabilize. And there's also a push that goes back. You bring the dam up, the flow hits the dam, and there's this wave that goes back.
yeah.
I think the three of us agreed that 45 minutes, it finally damped out and it was level. I thought it would take much longer than that. I don't remember how many times you adjusted the dam up and down. Quite a few.
Well, at the same time, we could put in there for a minimum of 45 minutes. If they want to wait an hour, that's up, but you've got to at least give it 45 minutes.
45 minutes
Yeah,
minimum. Okay.
Don't go in there and measure it at 35 minutes, because at the minimum. But then it's a value adjustment that when you're there, it's still got a little action going on. Just wait for 15 more minutes, but at the minimum, you all have figured it out, you've got to at least have 45 minutes. No less than.
I think Dwayne may have known in advance,
I know that.
but John and I did not.
I would put the word minimum in there.
Are you keeping up with all this?
Well,
I'm hoping you're taking notes too.
between the two of them, again, none of this, it sounds to me, is major substance, it's just more clarity.
Yeah, yes.
So I would say that if you're happy with that, and look at the back of the room, yes, no, you okay back there?
Somebody have a phone next to the microphone by chance?
What was that?
There's feedback out there. Does somebody have a phone next to your microphone?
Phone.
I have one.
No?
I did, but I moved it.
Well, right here, but I don't think it's,
I don't even have my phone here.
Yeah, that's got to stay away from the
okay.
microphone. You got two of them messing with it. I didn't even have mine on. So I would say that if you're happy with that, you can make the last final documents, but you're ready to adopt this. And if you're ready to adopt it, then we'll be ready to put it on the website once you have the final document.
I make a motion that with these 2 changes, we approve the document in its final version, and then put it on the county's website.
I'll second.
We got a vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Opposed? So we have a, that'll be added, that will be added to, the website? Yeah.
How do we add it to the website?
You send it to me.
Yeah, look, between Allison and Lauren, go get it on where they need it, maybe on a couple of different spots, so that
Yeah,
the
we can put
public
it on the
get
front page and then it'll also go on the
Yeah, and it'll
dam
go
page.
underneath the Dam Authority, so we'll put it on the front page, so. we'll do that.
Just like we take minutes.
We got this. Just turn it over to us, we'll handle it. And the us is here is limited for me for 48 hours. So there you go. Okay.
Okay, so then, the next item,
But your next item is to set meeting dates, and any future subjects you may want to have a discussion on. I don't know if anything that's urgent, but you should at least meet on a quarterly basis. I don't know if there's a regular schedule, but you can say like, here we are in March, and you can start now to have your next meeting. I would almost say July, so that way you're doing a January meeting, so if you got to do some organizational stuff in January, but your next meeting would be, I don't know, what were they meeting like, when they're on
We were
a,
shooting for quarterlies
Yeah.
at one point in time, when the county did the dam authority. And once we got to this number and this group, we said, okay, let's do quarterly.
okay.
And that way it would be on the calendar,
Mhm.
and then you guys could jockey your calendars, like right now, and kind of figure out what a quarterly looks like, where you could end up with a quorum.
I would say like, you can do the fourth Wednesday of the month or something like that, and we can send out a calendar, or Allison can send out a calendar that, but I would start with July. And I'm thinking more so that future organizational meetings, you would have a meeting in January. Does that make sense, Allison?
Yep.
Yeah, so.
July 23rd?
Okay.
4th Wednesday in July?
that sounds good.
10 o'clock. And Allison then could create a calendar to get out to everybody.
July 23rd.
Now, are you going to set them as you go? So you're gonna go for your July date and then set
Excuse
from
me?
there? Or are you gonna try and do more at one time for your
Oh,
scheduled dates?
you mean beyond July, you're saying?
Yeah, are you going to try and set that at one time, or are you gonna just
Well-
try for your July date and then go
Well-
from there?
I'm thinking, I just suggested the fourth Wednesday every quarter. So you got July, then your next one would be
October 22nd?
October, then you would, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And then you would meet again in January. So it's just like that, that fourth
Yeah.
Wednesday every quarter.
Okay.
Yep. Sounds good.
And the only reason I'm thinking that way, Allison, is like, again, is so that you have that meeting in January
Mhm.
for your organizational meeting, whenever you have to have that.
Okay.
And I think it'll be up to the chair to meet with everybody, well, about a week in advance, so you get him some notice, what it is you want to talk about, and if there's nothing to
Yeah.
talk about, you don't have to have a meeting. But I mean, it's just, if there's something that needs to come up.
Sure. Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Um, So we want to move on to the,
Yeah, quick update on a couple of items here. First of all, a year ago when we got started, that Steve started bugging me like crazy about stuff. Anyway, and he walks away from me at the end of December and just walks away. I mean, don't hear from him. He doesn't send me love notes, nothing until yesterday.
Is this being recorded?
Anyway, as you know, last year, the first item we tackled was getting the hydraulics all repaired and getting fixed, so that has been accomplished. Thank you to the board. Next was getting the walkway construction undertaken. That, as you all know, if you've been down by there, that is taking place right now. I think they are they have a deadline they want to finish so that it's open by the end, sometime in April. I don't remember what the exact date was, but they're well on track to finish that one. We also had a little incident, as you've heard, anyway, if you were to go down and look at the office, Patrick could bring up a camera down there at the dam in any spot you want to see it in almost, but we realized, what was it, late November, early December, the cameras weren't working and I didn't take it to the commission. I just said, this is emergency. We got to know what's happening at the dam in order the cameras have all been repaired. And Patrick, you can go downstairs at any time. He can look at anything. He can look at the inside cages, outside. He can look at anything out there. So anytime you want to go take a look downstairs, you may want to show him after the meeting if you would like. The last item, which I totally forgot about, is the roof. We got a little leak that's there that we also wanted to fix. The intent was that who was ever doing the walkway, we would ask them to do, while they're on site, to do the roof, whatever construction. And until yesterday, I just totally forgot about it. I know we've already talked to the contractor some months ago, but there will be we're getting an estimate. It'll be on the commission's agenda in April, and the cost should be under $10,000. But that way, everything there in that leak will be repaired and completed. So I don't know anything that was left other than this item that you approved today, that for the last year you guys have been working on. So thank you very much. And I think we've covered most of everything for now. There's always going to be something that'll come up, but for now, all those major items that we had on the list to look at will have been covered. So,
What was
Steve?
the dollar amount not to exceed on the roof?
At this point, there's a very rough estimate. It's going to be under $10,000. So, but we'll have that on the agenda to take care of. I don't have the written quote, but it's verbal at this point, but we'll wait until they get it to us. So, but at any case, because it's a contract amendment, it has to go before the commission. I don't get to approve that one on my own. So, okay. And on the repairs there, we've only had two amendments. One is that we needed to install a gate on the Fallen River side because of ADA compliance. And we could not do that. We could not pay for that because it's not our portion of it. It'll be up to Fallen River, but the gate's there so that we can secure the gate and we are not in violation of any ADA compliance issues. So if I'm sure that we'll have the Fallen Rivers can have a key, but it's not for pedestrians to be used. It's for their staff if they need to get over to the other side. But it's not open to just regular people just walking across. But in Falling Rivers and Falling Waters Lodge is very much aware of it. I know they're going to try to build a handicap ramp, but that's in their preview they have to undertake. So that's where we are. Oh, and the last thing that Jerry had, I forgot, was this little node that was out there at the end of something, that nobody knew. Everyone thought the county owned it. The county owned nothing. Zero zip goose, but we've done a quitclaim deed and that's been completed, and it's no longer our work. So there you go. I forgot about the quitclaim deed. Okay.
I wanted to make a comment that all of the camera issues that were mentioned are on Dwayne's phone, probably Pat's too. So they don't have to be sitting in front of the computer. Dwayne can just look at his phone and look at what's going on with the dam.
Well,
So for him, that's
that's
Passing it on, I don't know.
with all due respect, that's his problem. So I just wanted you to know, thank you for your help and all that in the last year, but it's taken us a while, but we're there, so we appreciate it, so.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
He kind of took over and took charge, and there was this guy that kind of was looking at things, and
Yep.
Richard saw those documents, and he said, okay, let's get this done. And,
And I had the lawyers look at it, and we finally got a legal opinion. Our lawyer said, you don't own a thing in there. If you can't find a deed, you don't own it. So, but let's do the quick claim, so they need it for their records, and so it's all been done and completed, and we did get our dollar. So we got the checks. So.
That's your bonus.
Huh?
That's your bonus.
That was my bonus, that's right. Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay,
That's
so, Dwayne, Patrick, Steve, anything else that you wanted to discuss, or,
I think that's it.
okay?
I think this authority and the dam situation is in really good hands. It's looking really good. We kind of chatted on the future, and then that'll be bringing stuff to the board at whatever time that's appropriate. We're 18 or 20 years out. The seals aren't even leaking on the darn thing. It's a rust out machine, and I think it's great. I was very fortunate to hire an engineer that knew what he was doing, and the engineer made sure we hired the crew that knew what they were doing.
And as far as like I said, Pat Meacham is quote unquote the engineer of record for that dam. So anything major that has to come up would go through him, so.
Yeah.
Although it's not official, but that's, yeah, he knows more about that dam than the rest of us know about what's in that dam.
Okay, so we're at public comment.
Yep.
Chris Crump, South Lake Leelanau. Just a couple comments. The changes to the level control procedure, I'm good with. I know it doesn't need my support, but my feelings on it is just as good as what we had here. So I hope hopefully it goes on to be voted on. Did we vote on it yet?
Yeah. Yes.
And just a comment I wanted to make. My area, my property on South Lake is between Fountain Point and the Narrows. And I believe that, my shore erosion, losing the trees, what I've been complaining about the last couple of years, last summer was good. At the lower level of the border. Just a couple comments I want to make about the drawdown and the raising of the water of the lake. And I've talked to Jerry on both occasions when this happens. We know how the sponge effect of Cedar, all the way from Cedar Run Road, all the way down, and all those points we talked about, a big sponge of the lake. The ground hasn't really fully thawed out yet. It hasn't really released the snow up yet. And we all know that, it's just nature. And the rain's coming. That lake is about ready to rise up on the south end really quick in the next couple of weeks. So we talk about drawing the lake back up to the corridor levels by April 15th. And I've talked to Jerry about this several times over the years. He would always slowly bring it up. And because he knew how nature is with the water, release it from the swamps and everywhere else. On the other end, so I'm hopeful that we just don't run it right out April 15th. I know this gives us the ability to do what we need to do to protect properties. When we get around to November 15th, Jerry used to start drawing that lake down before November 15th over the years. And this year he didn't. He waited till the 15th and then started lowering the lake. I think it's important that we start lowering early because of the winter we had this year. Never really had a chance to get down to the lowest level when the lake started. And, it's flowing pretty good right now. Most of the ice is gone. I still got a big chunk out front of the house, but I would ask that you start that process. And the discussion that you had on what the court order was and the discussion at the time and run, you have to be at this level, this date. I think that there's room in here for us for the authority to say it's a slow drawdown in the spring, a draw up in the spring, and it's a quick rundown in the fall. So that was my comment on that. Other than that, I like this, and then I'd like to talk with Patrick and Winnie afterwards to get to know. And I thought Jerry was the only guy that did everything. I didn't know there was a full support staff behind Jerry, so looking forward to meeting you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Commissioner comments? Well, first of all, also, I've sat on boards and committees before, but I've never chaired them, so forgive me for my rusty Robert's rules. And going forward, look forward to chairing this and better days ahead. So I think we can adjourn.
Adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Yeah.
Second.
You don't have to make motions, he just adjourned.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had that.